All right. Hello all. It's Anni here and warmly welcome to my channel. And if you are new to my channel is all about supporting all the caffeine quitters in their own recovery journey. And yes, indeed, caffeine is a drug, very underestimated one. And that's what my channel is all about, speaking and sharing my own experience in this recovery journey. And now I'm very happy to also speak with my friend Mandy from Texas. And today's topic is about depression, because that's what also you have been wished that we would do video about depression. So today that will be the topic that we are talking about. So grab some water and just enjoy the conversation.
Yes.
So let's see first that the chat is working. I just fix this. All right. Seems that chat is working, and if you are there, you can put also thumbs up in the chat or hearts or whatever, so I see that everything is working. Yes, it seems that we have a one viewer also. Please tell me, how is the audio? It is too loud or normal? Loud
Yes,
and
and can you
clear.
hear me?
Yes. So I think that I'm gonna just start about like how I did experience depression in my own withdrawal journey and post-acute withdrawal journey. So like we have been speaking about, this is like very long journey for many of us, months or even years of experiencing these symptoms. And for me, depression have been the one of the hardest one actually. It goes hand in hand with anxiety. But for me, depression was like very much that it started like a little bit later in the journey. It started in my case maybe in 4 and 5 months, like it really hit on. It didn't really hit in first months, because those months for me I was still a little bit confused and in the shock, and it wasn't really depression until a little bit later it did hit. And then it was just that completely emptiness. My brain was craving dopamine. I didn't feel any enjoyment. I just was like confused, like how can human being feel this flat, this sadness, like deep sadness, like the crying, like I was crying a lot, but also wasn't just like normal crying when you are sad. It was something like the anhedonia sadness, like there was emotions, but in the other hand there wasn't, like there wasn't any purpose, and it was like hopelessness. Before I really started to understand that okay, this is all normal, like I always want to say this is all normal. That's the important part of this stream also, you to know that it's very normal, and that's how the brain is healing. But in my own case, I didn't understand that at the time. I was just craving some dopamine. Like I was like, why the exercise doesn't feel me better, make me better? Speaking with friends doesn't make me feel better. Nothing, because my brain was in the shock state still, like that it has to start to learn to live without this drug that I have been using all my life. So. And also, what I wanted to say, that it felt like my libido was very low. I didn't have any desires of any like intimacy or any not be. I didn't want to be even close with my partner or with anyone. I couldn't work, of course, because my brain was still so messed up. But I also didn't want to work. I didn't have any motivation to work. And also I didn't have any desires to study. So I don't know, can you relate,
Same.
Mandy, but those were like...
Yes.
So
Very much.
maybe you can also share now how...
Yeah. Same. Very similar. It's just kind of like when I first quit, everything was kind of confusing. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I just kind of had this craving of needing to go to the doctor and needing to, I mean, immediately, but I still didn't have the depression, like you were saying. I just knew something felt, it was just the, just the anxiety. Shouldn't say that because that's no fun. But yeah, I could just kind of tell that something isn't right. We all say that, I think, like something's not right. You just have this feeling, even if it's a strong feeling, if it's intense or not, even if it's light, you still feel off. You just still feel like something is off, something's wrong, something's not right, something's going on. And then it just starts to grow. And you wouldn't think that it would seem to get worse, that, and it's not worse. It's just that it's starting to kind of take off with the healing. The brain maybe thinks, oh, is she coming back on the drug? I don't know how it works, but it was like that for me. It's kind of like something's really weird. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I think it was like around 2 or 3 months. I did go and work because I'm a massage therapist, and my friend asked me to come to a kind of like a chair massage gig with him and he was in grad school, and he had like 20 students with him. And they were all like super stressed, and they wanted to get chair massages. And anytime in the past I'd ever done chair massage or any type of massage, I was always caffeinated, and I was always very high, and I would always get kind of like goosebumps when I would work and excited and have that purpose that you were talking about that we lose. And that was like the first, I had anxiety driving there and felt like maybe I was going to have a panic attack, maybe, but I just kind of pushed myself. And then I'm working on these individuals, and I felt nothing. I had never felt that way before, ever in my life. Like I'm working on their back. And like I said, normally when I used to work on people, I was caffeinated, and I would get kind of excited that I'm working on people, or, I'd have the purpose, the motivation, the goosebumps. Like I was just knowing that I was helping someone, knowing that I was going to make some income with it as well. Like I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about how much money I was going to make.
Yes.
I didn't care that I was working on someone and they said that it felt good, that it made them feel better. Like nothing brought me any kind of satisfaction. And I did not know. I remember telling him I can't come back tomorrow because it was supposed to be 2 days. And I said, I cannot come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I had to cancel it. I felt terrible canceling it because I know that they were in pain and stuff and stressed. And I just felt nothing. So that was kind of the first hit. And that was like 2 or 3 months or something. And then I thought that was pretty bad because that was weird. And then I guess it got worse after that even, and hit me even harder. And the true anhedonia hit. And that's when it was complete, that flatness you were talking about. Like nothing felt good. My brain just, I don't know where it goes, but it just, my friend came over. She took me to get acupuncture. She had to drive me. I was trying all types of different therapies. And I was talking to the acupuncturist, and he was talking to me and I was telling him kind of how I felt. She was actually telling him because I couldn't really talk. And I'm just sitting on the table, and he starts talking to me, and I could really tripped me out. I was like, what is wrong? I really thought I had something going on, and he gave me acupuncture, and I felt it was interesting. I felt a little bit better with the acupuncture, but it probably kind of like when you work out, or if you can work out through this, it'll give you a dopamine boost, but it's not like it fixed it or made it go away.
No.
Maybe it made it a little bit better in the moment, but it's not like anything is going to make this magically disappear. That's time that does that. But yeah, and then, so that the anhedonia lasted like a month for me.
Yeah.
The true complete, oh my gosh, I would ask my husband what life is for. I was crying a lot too. I was confused. I was scared. I had no idea what was happening to me, like we all feel. And yeah, then it got a little bit better. I went into what we were talking about the other day, our first window. When we were talking about windows and waves, I went into my first, I guess, what window. It was just relief.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we were going to talk a little bit about that, right? About
Yeah.
kind
Just
of going over windows and waves a little bit again to try to really just kind of really quickly. But yeah, so again, it's just, it was hopelessness. It was despair. Despair is a really good word to use. It was just like complete despair. Because the brain is just, there's just so much to get technical, which is not really, I guess it's good to get technical sometimes, but when we're getting so much dopamine while being on any substance, the brain stops producing it on its own because it can. This is what I've learned along the way. I don't know,
yeah.
some things I learned and I forgot that I even learned them, because once you keep going on this journey, you just kind of experience life through different eyes, and I sometimes forget all the stuff that I picked up along the way, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's all about dopamine. But that's just getting technical. But basically, when you're on a drug, any drug, and you're being flooded with dopamine, our brains are so smart, it's saying, oh, I don't need to make it on my own anymore.
Yeah. There is.
And,
I'm gonna
and
take a interruption. There's chat like
please, yes, I'll just,
GDHA. I hear phenylalanine is the recommended for caffeine withdrawal. I had it before and it increases dopamine big time. Do you know about that, Mandy?
yeah. Phenylalanine. What is it?
Yes, I don't know.
DPDLA, DPD, DPLA
PhD
or something.
and
It's like
you
the
are
precursor, but I don't do supplement. I mean, I think that that's just kind of another. I think meat has all the precursors to dopamine, and to me, that's just kind of like putting another band-aid on it. It might make it feel a little better in the moment, but it's not gonna like make the neurons and the neurotransmitters in the brain. Maybe it'll make it. I don't know. I don't suggest supplements. So that's kind of someone's own.
DLPA, yes.
DLPA. Yeah, I've heard of that. I spent so much money on supplements, and I mean thousands.
Yeah, me
Probably
too
like
in the
$1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning. And plus when I was on caffeine, because I never felt good, I was like, supplements. Like I loved going to the supplement store and buying supplements.
Yeah.
And to me, I think it might be like a placebo too. I don't know. I just know that when the wave comes or the healing comes, it happens no matter what. I would say save your money, but if it makes you feel better, if you think that it's going to help.
Yes. And other one. Hello, what time is there, Ilo? Yeah, it's a little bit over 7, like 18 over 7. Welcome. But yeah, for supplements also I was like heavy supplement user while I was caffeinated, and I was like almost a freak because I was doing that biohacking, and I thought that I knew all about the supplements and I was always using them. But in this journey I then realized that I don't need supplements, and but I don't say if you find the supplement that helps you, then there is no use why would you use that if that helps you, because we are all different. I did use a little bit CBD oil in the beginning, and I think it did calm me a little bit, but the problem was that I couldn't get like the quality one that I would have so I did leave that. Also ashwagandha I did use a little time, but not every day, like only sometimes. But then that didn't do much. Like it was sometimes maybe I thought that supplement did something when I was in a good window, and I did kind of put that together. Okay, maybe it did, but then sometimes when I was like feeling very bad, like nothing didn't work. So I don't really know.
Right. Yeah.
But
I think I mean, and someone who hasn't been through this, when they quit and they don't understand what it feels like and what it's like, you want to feel so much better so fast that you'll take anything or spend all the money to just try to feel better.
yes.
So yeah, like you said, we're all different, and I just don't take anything, but people can take whatever they want if they feel comfortable with it.
But where were you, Mandy? You can. Sorry that I interrupt you. You were speaking.
Oh no, thank you. anytime if you have to want to answer a question or anything.
Maybe we
Um,
could, because if there's,
yeah, I was just saying,
yeah, go ahead. We can take questions a little bit
what's that?
later if there's comes like the chat. You can put questions, so we're gonna take them
Sure.
later.
Oh, sure, sure. Absolutely. Um, but now I was just talking a little about dopamine and how like when people are on substances and how I mean, the brain is so interesting that it doesn't want too much dopamine, because if you have too much dopamine or too much glutamate, it'll make you feel manic. It'll make you feel, I don't know if anyone's ever done any kind of, I think caffeine's a pretty hard drug. It's just legal. That's all. But if you've done any illegal drugs ever, it raises so much so fast. If you do too much of it, it can make you feel crazy.
Yep.
And I think for some people, when they're doing caffeine, I know like my husband, when I was on it and we would go to Starbucks together, he would sometimes get like he would usually get tea, but he would sometimes get, what is it called? Super strong coffee. Nitro. I think it was like the nitro. And I would love to get it because it would make me feel like super, crazy buzzed. And it's just, now that I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that's poison. But he would take it and he's like, oh my God, my heart, and I always thought that was energy. But anyway, yeah, too much glutamate or too much dopamine can make you feel crazy. And then but anyway, so the brain knows not to make too much of it. It's like, oh, I'm getting enough from whatever source you're getting it from. And then you quit, and then you don't have any more dopamine from the substance, and then your brain isn't making it because it said, I don't need to make it anymore, and it kind of gets lazy. And then that just takes time for the brain to start making it naturally on its own. And it will make it. I think you just eat, in time, it will make it again on its own.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's the
But if you want to take a
hardest.
supplement,
Yeah.
but
It is. I think the.
I just have my own thing with supplements. I have kind of my own little. I have a bag, literally a bag full still in my closet that I still have that I don't take, obviously, but I'm like, that's just so funny to me. I'm like, oh, that money, because I thought this was going to fix me, because you just feel bad, and you want to, like I said, you want the quick fix, but that's what got us in trouble in the first place, is doing things like drinking caffeine, doing the drugs, doing the alcohol, and getting us, in this mess. And so I just wanted time to heal it. But so anyway.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I say to myself when I was really depressed that now I'm seeing life first time with the sober eyes since childhood, and that's very weird experience to have really sober. But when I was caffeinated, my brain was nothing to understand about that I was caffeinated. I just thought that it's normal state to be and have that OCD and have all those lingering symptoms, because I still thought that many people, even they don't have deep depression or OCD or intrusive thoughts like some of us did have when we were caffeinated. But I think that it's still affecting people, even in the mildest way, because it's a sneaky drug. It sneaks in first. It's a heaven with the dopamine, and then slowly years go by, 20s,
Oh yeah.
30s, 40s, maybe you're in the 50s, 60s, and you just have the drug to function. And then I'm pretty sure that the damage is already some kind of damage. No, damage is bad word, but it changes the brain chemistry. So, yeah,
sure.
that's
Absolutely. It's a drug for sure. It's so silly. This underestimated, socially accepted drug. It's like, oh, because it's legal, it's okay. No, like if they legalize cocaine, it's like,
Yep.
and the way I look at it too, you can make caffeine a powder. It can be a powder like cocaine. Cocaine can be steeped over leaves too. Or, I mean, I don't know if there's a bean with cocaine, but the chemical makeup of cocaine and caffeine I think there's like one or two molecules that are off, but they're very similar in structure of the chemical makeup.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's such a drug and people are just so happy on it and doing good and then the things that they have on it they don't realize. But yeah, I definitely had depression on caffeine.
Yeah.
Especially around my cycle being a female. But
Mhm.
I woke up in the morning and I was tired. I felt kind of blah, but I knew I was going to have my fix. I had to
Yeah.
have, I was in basically withdrawing. Basically, that's what we're doing. We start withdrawing at night and in the morning, and then we need it. So you're just constantly in that loop
Yeah.
of needing it and withdrawing and then needing it, and then you quit and you have to go through what we're going through to get away from it. And so we're doing the work, but it's challenging for a lot of people. And I felt the depression until, I mean, that's just how much of a drug it was that we felt it when we woke up. Cause I think didn't you feel it a little bit too? You were tired in the mornings and needed
Yes,
it
yes. I was
and felt
always like
depressed a
I
little bit.
started my day with the coffee and then I did exercise or go to work or whatever, but that was my way to start without knowing it was a drug, heavy drug.
Me too, for sure. Yeah, and I would drink it and I'd be like, "Oh, I feel better," and it would always just make me feel like it was helping me, it was my medicine, it was my thing, and it's like I just was so clueless that it was like, "No, you were in withdrawal and you needed the drug to function because the allostasis, the reason why I keep we'll do that another time, the homeostasis and allostasis.
Yeah.
But the brain does literally change. And then even if you think that it's not causing you issues, when you're on the drug you'll take up for it and think, oh no it's not that, when it is, but you'll make an excuse that it's something else and you'll just kind of ignore it. Plus you're feeling good, you're high, you get that dopamine hit, and then you just kind of ignore it and just, oh, maybe tomorrow I'll try to wean down or quit, and then you never do because you're so addicted. The brain is just so, it knows that it needs it, it knows to get it, keep getting it every day, because it does change the state of the chemistry. But yeah.
Yeah, it was like for me when I was caffeinated, I was having the OCD anxiety, but depression was like um, it was like also around my cycle, but sometimes it was just like the depression that I could still create stuff, so I could be creative. Like we know many people who have depression, they are artists or so we were functional
Oh
and
yeah.
we were very much
Right.
functional and even jumpy functional. Like I always say that I was jumpy around. I do this, I do that. I was shopping, like you said in the chat, like you just I want to buy this when you are caffeinated and maybe you do some stupid stuff. I don't even have share all the thing. I have done a lot of like impulsive stuff, but when the drug is gone, you feel more stable and normal. But the problem comes because you have to go through this depression that many of you are now dealing with, and it can feel your brain is feeling that it needs it fix. It needs that caffeine fix, even you don't want to take that, but your brain doesn't necessarily understand that right away.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it really thinks it needs it to survive
hmm,
until it goes back to the normal balance of homeostasis. But yeah, and the fact that it does it in cycles, is really interesting.
yep.
But yeah, I mean, the depression that I had on caffeine was different. I mean, there was 1 or 2 days during PMS time before I'd start my cycle that I would feel the despair, but it was kind of just like, oh, I know, because I did it. That was 29 years of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and the older I got, the worse it got. But every month I felt it just for a day or two, but I knew that it would go away. It would go away and that's what we were saying the other day, how that was kind of like the wave on caffeine, during our hormone stuff, that we would feel that despair or that hopelessness for just a little bit. But that's how I got through. It's just, oh, it'll go away. I
Yeah.
hated it in the moment, but it was very short lived. Plus, I was on the drug to kind of get me through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I was self medicating with alcohol, we learn to manage while
Yeah.
on it. But then when you're off of it, especially if you're off of alcohol too, yeah, you're you're having to manage life with just your normal chemistry, but it's also missing all kinds of components of the balance. And then yeah, it just takes time. But yeah, it's very interesting how I felt it on it, but it was so different being completely free and not medicating and having to be that real flatness and it lasting longer than a day or two or at moments at a time and then not being able to get high, like
Yeah.
it's really hard on us mentally and physically. And then there's like the emotional aspect and the aspect that we don't even understand that like the brain's missing it and thinks it needs it to survive. It's challenging, and that's why support is so needed.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and I have made a little list that these are like my own little routines that I did do sometimes to cope, just going through the days, and also saying myself that I can go through the day without feeling any joy or any happiness. And I did these little things like sometimes I just like I did walk a lot actually. I did walk and I did learn myself to walk without like having any enjoyment about that. Like before I did walk with the dog, I was always like I felt happy. Like when I was caffeinated, I'm not maybe that was caffeine happiness, but I was like excited to go places. But with this depression, I was just walking with an empty mind and then sometimes like playing some video games or just cleaning actually have been one of my survival tools, like just cleaning, not all house, like I couldn't always clean if I have very bad day, but some kind of cleaning or even doing like knitting or something to distract your mind a little bit, but it's not like too stressful to do. And just like changing the routine sometimes when the depression is really deep, just doing something. Okay, now I'm just completely do something else, like drive somewhere if you can, or changing something that you give your brain the signal that you are not like. Sometimes we tend to go to Google things, and we Google symptoms when we are in that heavy part, and I do that. But then I realized the more I did do that, the more intense my symptoms were. So I did have to kind of shut down and change the routine. So okay, I feel
Yes.
depressed, but I still do something. I still do something else. So I don't know if that's gonna
Yes.
help you, but
No, those are all good. Yeah. And just to go back a little bit, I was the same. I don't know if I said it before, but just even though I would have that depression on caffeine for the few days, yeah, it's just so interesting like how I was still able to the difference of how I was still able to function. Like if I had to go to work that day or I'd make myself go work out and then the workout would make me feel a little bit better. But just how the difference of how it is, the way that depression and anxiety was on the drug and then the way that it is healing from it, it's completely different.
mm-hmm.
Because I guess because you lose the motivation aspect, you lose the purpose. Like it's easier to push yourself when you're high, even if you feel depressed. Yeah, and what you said about this, that's what it was. The creativity when you're sad, like listening to a song and feeling that melancholy and wanting to write your
Mm-hmm.
feelings. Maybe write a song or a poem
Mm-hmm.
when you're feeling kind of sad or the blues. Yeah, all that went away. Like I remember in the beginning, someone because I was going to AA because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I had quit alcohol too. But I had quit alcohol before, and I never felt like this. But anyway, I was going just to try to get support, and I remember this one lady asking me, "Well, what do you do? Do you write? What brings?" She was asking me, "What brings you joy?" And I was like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
And that kind of hurt me because I didn't. I was like, "Why did?" Like, man, I must be really messed up if she's a AA sponsor and she doesn't understand what I'm feeling, that I don't feel anything right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, well, what brought you joy when you were a kid? And I couldn't even remember. I was
Yeah.
like, nothing. Like, I've never had fun ever in my whole life. Like, I really thought that I had never had fun in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And what really tripped me out when I had the anhedonia is I would try to think of anything that brought me joy, or I would before, like traveling or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not get excited about it. Nothing. And then what really, really tripped me out was all the places that I had been that I knew that I had fun doing. I knew I had a good time. I could not find joy in it. It's like the memory of it wasn't there. And that really tripped me out, because I was like, it would tell me that I really didn't have a good time, that it was all a lie. And I was like, what? Like, that was trippy. I mean, it was really extreme for me. I don't know if other people have felt that, if they have quit and gone through the type of withdrawal that we've post-acute withdrawal that we've gone through, pause that we've gone through, but it was really crazy. And I think that that's what, because I could understand if something wasn't bringing me joy in the moment, but the memory of things that I knew that I had loved didn't bring it to me. That was like
Yeah.
crazy to me. But it was all, now I can think of my trips and or going on a trip, and oh, I get so excited. I do. So it all comes back. I get so much
Yeah.
pleasure and nostalgia. It's like my nostalgia feelings,
Mm.
all those nostalgic feelings were gone. I couldn't, like, now when I listen to music, especially 80s music, oh man, I get a high. Like, I get
Yeah.
super excited listening to music now.
Same.
And I could not listen to music because it didn't bring me that nostalgic feeling. Because you know how, like, if you watch an 80s movie or listen to the music, it brings you back to 1985 or
Yeah.
whatever. We're older, but yeah, that's what it is. I could not find my nostalgic, feely good feelings. And then I remember when it started to spark back around like 8 or 9 months, I was like, oh, it's so exciting to have it come back.
Yeah, it's like,
And then all the people that said that it slowly comes back, it's really true. It really does.
yeah.
It's just drug withdrawal. It's just drug withdrawal.
Yeah, in the moment I remember some things that happened, like I was starting to like maybe like to start to keep some yoga retreats, even in my second year. It was like in my mind that I should be able to do them already, but I just couldn't. Like, I couldn't. It's something that you cannot fake. You cannot like fake to do things when your
Right.
brain is stopping you. And first, in my first year, I was thinking that there is seriously something wrong with my brain. Like, why I because I went like the very active life to zero. Like, I went to completely madness, like very active life, and then cold turkey, completely madness, completely hell. And there, slowly, very slowly from there, my brain did started to recover, and I started to feel that those feelings coming back again.
Yes.
But while that was happening, because you know that many of us, it's at least 2 years that you really start to feel like, okay, I'm ready to do something creative, and even then it can be pumpy. So it can be,
Right.
I get that back. I'm making the plans. I start to work. Oh my God, where is that now? Like, the setback comes. And for me, the 35 months tsunami, and it was crazy. But now, when we
Yes.
know this, how much easier? I hope this is easier for you who listen this. If you are feeling, some of you are not going this long way, and I'm very grateful of that. But some of you who are, I hope this helps you to know that it is normal, and it will end.
Yes. Absolutely. And whenever you get hit, or when I would, and I think it's very common, very normal, when you get hit with a depression, one thing that it lies, the anxiety itself lies and causes the doubt and lies, but it's all, I like to look at it as it's just a lie, because it will tell you in the moment that this is forever. Like, for me, that's how it was. If it lasted let's say that, like in the last wave, it lasted, I remember specifically, I can't really remember in the beginning. I think, like I said, it was like a month straight of anhedonia. It felt like every single day. But in this last wave, it was like the 7 days during my cycle. And in that 7 days, it felt like an eternity. But every single day, every single second, minute, hour, was just a struggle. And it was totally lying to me saying, you're going to feel this way forever. And then I would be like, there's no way, there's no way. The beginning went away. Like, there's no way. I'm not, but it will tell you that for some reason. It's telling me that. And I think for a lot of people, especially if they don't know what it is, they'll think that. And, that it's just like, please don't ever act on it, or it is such a lie and it will go away. I've never had it to where it's last the whole time. But let's say for somebody that it does, like you feel depressed every single day, you don't have a break in these windows that we were talking about. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up from our last videos that when we were talking about windows and waves, that we experience windows and waves, but maybe not everybody does on this journey. But even in the window where it feels a little bit better, it's relief. It's never been 100% of, oh my God, I'm so amazing right now. And I can go run down the street and go be social and go to parties. And it's never been like that. It's just, I can sleep better. And I feel, like I'll say to myself, I can live like this, I can get through this. I can do this, or I'm more friendly. I'm more talkative. I'm smiling more. I mean, I was like a zombie in the last wave. My brain was completely just kind of shutting off to heal. And my husband said that I was like not making sense sometimes. Like it was kind of, it's very scary. So for my loved ones to see me like that, but that's why you just have to get through the days on those days and just say, it's okay to not feel okay and know what it is. That's why I think it's so important that we're doing this, because we have both experienced those tsunami type waves. And I think if someone who's going through this, when they get to a certain spot and it does happen to them, if it doesn't happen to you, then great.
Yeah.
But if it does happen to you, oh my gosh, it is so normal. I mean, if you want to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. That's always a good thing. But to know that there's other people and there's people ahead of us that have gone through it. And then now we're, bringing awareness that the tsunami type wave can happen. I think should help people not feel so alone. I felt really scared. There was only one or two people that told me they had a tsunami type wave, and I heard others, but I would always tell myself, no, that's not going to happen to me.
Yeah, same.
Which I think is a great thing to think, because it might or might not. So don't ever think like it's going to, but if it does happen, you're not left in the dark thinking, oh my gosh, it's back. It's not that it's back. It's just part of the process sometimes for some people. So, but yeah, I felt that anhedonia, but it does not last. It might be lying to you. It might be telling you that it's forever, but it is not. It isn't. It's not.
Yes. Hi. Oh,
it might be. It might be if you're on the drug and you're trying to quit. But that's not real either. It's just the way that the caffeine's messing with your brain chemicals. It's not you. It's the drugs. It's, so many people are on so many different things and they think it's so normal, because like even alcohol is, it's legal and it can be messing with people. I know it. Absolutely. It's a drug.
Yeah.
So if you're completely free of drugs and you're going through this, it is not going to last forever. It's not.
No, we all heal.
And I know how hard it is. I know that despair. I know that feeling of despair. I'm sorry.
Nothing. Like there is now Chris, thanks you. Mandy, thanks for clarification of the waves. And Lisa is there. Hi, Lisa.
Yes, that was for you, Chris, actually.
Michelle is there. Hi, Michelle. I think we could take now.
Hey, everybody.
If you want to ask something, I think we could take questions now. What do you think about that, Mandy?
Yes. Oh, one other thing, because you had suggested kind of how you got through. One thing that really helps me, because for me, like when you say that you were able to clean, I'll go, oh, well, sometimes I'm not able to clean. So is something wrong with me? People can do that, right?
Yes.
But there's moments where I can clean and it's not even, what's the word? It comes natural. It comes easy. It's not like I'm forced. Like I would say that I'm like, sometimes I feel like I have to force myself to clean. And then sometimes I'll just get it. It's like deep inside me where I just enjoy it because I feel like, I think what it has to do with is when we're actually doing the activity, you get a dopamine boost from doing the activity.
Yes.
And then when you complete the activity, you get another dopamine reward from it. But I think sometimes when our brain is in that healing mode where, no, I don't want to clean. And then you try to make yourself do it or whatever, you try to make yourself do anything and your brain is not producing that dopamine because it's spending the energy to heal. It will, you don't get that reward while you're doing it. So it doesn't feel good while you're doing it. And you're just like, I can't make myself do it sometimes. So what I came up with, and this, I mean, people do this all the time. You make lists, but in this process, instead of making like a long list of like 10 things, that's too overwhelming. Make one thing. It might be like clean out the microwave, or just clean half of it or whatever, and write it down. And then when you do it, then check it off. And complete it. And it might just be one thing a day. And that would kind of help me. And sometimes I would do that and sometimes I wouldn't. Or just having the idea that I was going to make the list made me feel good. Oh, I'll tackle it tomorrow. But yeah, sometimes I just can't clean. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I can't. Oh, it's weird. But sometimes I love it. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, questions.
Okay, questions. There is like, Isa asks, still struggling bad with the periods and ovulation. I would love to know when that gets better. So yes. it takes time with the hormones. In my last wave, I did have very bad periods, so it's.
Me too. It was because I think I'm kind of in a wave right now, like a mild one, but so different than the last wave I had. I mean, it's kind of like, you know what it's like. But I think Lisa didn't have PMS like we did on caffeine. I'm not sure. I think I remember her saying that she didn't really, I think I remember her saying, I don't even know when my period was coming, but that's something for me that like, I know what it feels like. And it feels, what I'm feeling now is very similar to the way it felt when I would have PMS, but it's in my period now. It's not before. So that's, to me, that's healing stuff. That's like the process of the body healing, like I talked about before. But every month it's something different for me.
Yes.
So like January, I had zits. I never get zits. I might get them every now and then during this process. And I had it on caffeine because it was like the way that it was affecting my hormones. But I had like 5, 6, 7, 10 on like in January of pimples. And I was like, oh no, excuse me if this is TMI, but my chest was sore. Hasn't happened since. And it happened around my 7-month mark. And it didn't happen again until this last big tsunami wave. And so it's like the way that the body's cycling again through the process, and it hasn't happened since again. And so I think it's like, to me, when it happens like that, it's always something that needed to happen through our cycle that is needed to get to the other side. It's like the body knows what it's doing. Yep. We just don't like the symptoms, we get pissed off, but Lisa, it's very, very normal still.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes it still hits us even later in the journey when we get better, and then the period comes, ovulation times comes, and hormones are hitting us. So we get nervous because we think that this should be over. But for me, for example, now I should start today or tomorrow, and I feel just that I crave food, like that I would normally love in periods. Like many women, we love food and watch movies. Not super happy, maybe a little cranky, but that's what I consider the normal. But it was like not normal at all. Like in withdrawals, like panicky, crazy, like walking around the house just going through your day and not even eating. I remember once my grandmother said that there is something wrong with Annie if Annie doesn't like to eat. Well, I love to eat, and in my bad wave I didn't have appetite, like I was fucked. So
yes,
it gets better.
That was like 7 days for me. I didn't like, but I made myself eat, but I did not have an appetite. That's not normal for me either, but it was about 7 days. It felt like it was 3 months, but That was
Yes.
interesting how, but yeah, I think we're just supposed to be kind of, that's the time to rest, for a female. That's the
Yeah.
time to just rejuvenate. And I think it's going to get even better than that. I think it's going to be good. And what we're feeling now is just like when we say we're still healing, it's just the fact that we know it's going to get even better than this, but it's still so much better.
Yeah. Lisa says that it's still like that. 22 months for you, I think. It's very normal. Very normal. Don't worry. It's
Oh yeah.
when it
Yes.
started to get a little bit break. For me, after 2 years, yes, but I still did have the symptoms like those waves were
The ups and downs. Yeah.
a very bad period in the waves. So
Yeah. I had a lot of relief at times, but then I had times where it was still like, oh yeah, this is what it is, especially in the wave. And especially, yeah, I mean, it's just, even in the window around that time, I would feel stuff, but I knew what it was. I knew it was healing. And I mean, believe me, I was kicking and screaming sometimes, but um, I knew it was part of it. And there's relief in the window, but, and there can be relief in the wave too sometimes.
yes,
So it seems, it's teeter-totter. I like to call it teeter-totter days. One day is like an okay day, and then one day is like it hits you so hard. But I feel like in the window, it's like a little bit more stable, but your baseline might be a little higher, a little lower of symptoms. But I just like to think of it as relief.
yep,
Like, oh, I can sleep better now, or oh, I got this back. Like, yay, focusing on the improvements kind of thing. But yeah, it's never, ever been complete relief, ever. And I just had someone message me who hasn't messaged me in a while. And I had told them I was kind of taking a break from helping people, but they messaged and they said, oh, I was feeling better and now it's all back. And I'm like, yeah, that is very normal.
yep.
Part of the process. I promise.
And I think that's the one of the most important thing in this thing, that we are supporting you to give that reassurance. Every video that we are doing, we are reminding you that it is normal and you get well and back to yourself. And that's exciting for many of us who have been caffeinated since childhood. We became like a child again. Like we are
Yes.
we are so excited, like just sitting in the chair. Sitting in the chair is
Yeah.
exciting. Watching
Yeah. I
bugs
was outside
outside.
yesterday. Yeah. I was sitting outside yesterday and the sun was shining on me and I felt like I was 10 years old. Like I just felt good sitting outside. Nothing was happening. I didn't have a party to go to later. No, I was just sitting in the moment, watching my plants, watching my squirrel. We kind of adopted this squirrel. Her name is Scarlet.
Oh, that's so cool.
She had babies, watching her babies run around. Like I can just watch her for hours. I feed her peanuts and apple and just watching her eat. I'm like, who am I? Like, this is so amazing. And then if you do go out and do something, then it's even more fun. But just being alive and being in your skin feels so good. And I never thought that was possible. I really didn't.
Same.
But it is.
Same.
It's so cool.
It is. So.
And if I ever get hit with a wave again, I will just get through it and know that I don't know if it's going to happen again. I don't know, and I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to worry if it does, because if it does, it's part of the process. It's part of the healing. You're healing the worst when you're healing the most when you feel the worst. I truly believe that. That's a really hard concept, but I believe it because every single time I come out of it with a little bit of a gift of an upgrade every time.
Yes, it's like we get a little gifts after these waves, or if you don't have waves, you are feeling just bad all the time. When you start to feel better, you get these little gifts like, this how I was, like this how it's supposed to be, but it doesn't come all at once. It gives you first it gives you a little glimpses. Oh, this is what, and then it goes away.
What is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, I feel like a little glimpse of something. Yeah, it's exciting, and then it goes away, and then it comes back, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I think I feel it. Crazy.
Yes.
There needs to be a book written about this.
Yes. So I
No
think,
one will believe it. No one will believe it unless they've experienced it themselves.
yep.
Truly. But
So I hope that,
yeah.
do you want to share something still, Mandy, about the depression, if we go back from that? Or
Yeah, I guess kind of what you said that how long have we been going now? About 50 minutes? It feels like 10.
I'm not sure. We have time. We have time. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, now I forget what I was going to say. It was something that you had said earlier.
50 minutes. Or we are.
50 minutes. Okay. It was something you said earlier that I could relate to. Um, I forget now,
Don't worry.
but it's just, I don't know. Oh yeah, I don't know. Yay, my brain. It's working. I felt that the depression for me is maybe one of the worst symptoms too. You said that earlier that it was the worst, but so like if I can go in order, like panic attacks are the worst to me. Like that scared the crap out of me. But panic attacks don't. I mean, in the beginning they were happening more often, but um, they're so short lived. They suck in the moment so bad, and they don't happen for me. They don't happen. If someone's having them over and over again for months and months, that's, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. But um, for me, they weren't happening over and over. I was always afraid that they were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm at the grocery store or something, is it going to happen? And the thing about that is, and maybe one day we can talk about panic attacks, but
Yep.
they, they're just so scary. But yeah, they wouldn't last, and they're over, and then you're afraid of them. So that if it was constant, like 7 days in a row, like the depression was this last time, then that would be maybe the number one. And then the intrusive thoughts used to be kind of which we talked about in another video that people can watch, that are awful. But then you get to a point where you're just like, oh, it's just intrusive thoughts, and it starts to fade. So that goes away. But the depression, it is, like I said, I think the reason why it can be the worst is because it feels so real, like I said earlier, and because it lies to you. It makes you think that you're going to feel that way. And it's just so intense. And I think, because like, we want joy, we want happiness. And we're not supposed to walk around this life just constantly happy all the time, but I understand that. But maybe it does feel that way. I've heard from someone that it does feel that way. You have control of your mind. You can feel happy if you want. You can feel sad if you want, because sometimes being sad, like we said earlier, like listening to a sad song, crying sometimes, like you have control of that. So, but yeah, the depression, when people are going through it, I think that's the hardest part, is the lie. And it is a lie. Do not believe it. Do not do anything, reach out. Family member. I called my mom a lot in the beginning, a lot, like every day. And I know you have a loved one. Someone has some type of loved one that can listen, hopefully. Or what I would do? I would, once I would journal. I could not journal in the beginning. I couldn't do anything but cry and get through the day and talk to my mom and just have faith. What I like to look at with this is with God and with, our spiritual side. If people are spiritual, how we have faith, how we say it's called blind faith. Like with this, it's like that, it's like, we know deep down it's going to get better. We have this kind of, or if you have someone to guide you, you have guided faith, but you still kind of have that doubt. You still kind of never really can grasp that you're going to get better, but you are. And so I think just holding on to that is what helps us get through too. We just don't like the way it feels, and we have to get through the day, and the days are long, but that's what keeps us going, having that faith that. And what does Cato say in some of his videos? You don't have to pray for this. You don't have to hope for this, even though we do. But that's what keeps us going, is that hope. But what he means by that is that You don't have to hope because it's going to happen. You
Yes.
are, whenever your time frame, whenever your brain is done healing and it's gone through all the seasons and all the reason why it comes back is just because it has to go through that cycle again. It's not starting over. You're not broken. It's just part of the process for your brain. So whenever your brain is done healing and it happens so slow, like even someone who's on the other side, they're like, I really couldn't tell you when I was 100% because it was such a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
Like that makes sense. But it really does you do get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm back. I'm coming back. And then you start to trust the process. I think around for someone like us, I think around 3 years is where you don't really need the reassurance anymore, not as much. You're able to kind of just keep going. You know you're better. You know life's getting back. You might not feel great every day, and it might not be complete joy, but it is. I think you're more happy in that time. You're happy. You're more motivated a little bit, or you have at least the idea of wanting to be motivated. You know the like I said earlier, like I couldn't go to a vacation, didn't care about vacation. Now I care about vacation. I might not actually do it all the time or have the energy, but I want it. I'm like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to go to the beach, or I'm going to go to, I don't know, Greece or somewhere, just somewhere that you want to travel to. It's just the kind of the want, I think, is important. The fact that the want comes back, and then you get to a point where you're doing. So it's like you have nothing, you don't want anything, and then you get to a point where you at least start wanting stuff, and then you get to a point where you're doing. And when you're doing, you forget this whole journey. It doesn't come up anymore. I've
Yeah.
heard that from so many people. You just forget. You forget. Because we
Yeah.
think we're going to have like PTSD. We're going to have PTSD from this or
Yeah.
something. And it's like, yeah, you might think that. But when your brain starts working right and making all the right chemicals, that perfect chemical cocktail again, you just move on and you live
Yeah.
your beautiful life.
Yeah. Lisa is asking you how far you are in your journey, like how many months you are in Mandy.
34, I just hit 34 and a half. I think I'm like 34 and 18 days.
Yeah.
So I'm almost at 35. So I think a lot's going to happen in this little bitty healing wave I'm in to when I get to 3 years. I think this next, and I don't like to think of it like that, like this next period's going to be bad. Of course I do, but guess what? I get through it. And I was thinking last night, I was going to bed because I feel so much better lately. And I was like, this last almost 3 years has been so challenging, but yet the last 30 years have been, because I've had PMS for 30 dang years every single month. And like you said earlier, and I've said before, Annie, we're free of the drug that caused all this for all those years. So like the way we feel now and the way we know we're going to feel in the next year or two, to be free and just be healing and be away from what the drug caused, is where I get so much inspiration from and excited from, because not many people are free and not many people know that caffeine or any drug is causing them issues. Like we said earlier, they don't know. They think it's life. They think it's the cards they were dealt. They think it's getting older age. It's like, no, it's most likely the drug you're on, because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're not
True
supposed
that.
to be on them. We get on them to medicate. And then people are like, well, why do you have to medicate in the first place? Why do you have to go to alcohol in the first place? There must have been some type of trauma or something that you were running from, that you were medicating from. And it's like, well, how about the fact that I've been on Coke since I was like 5 years old, 6, 7 years old? It was definitely, I mean, people think of caffeine with coffee and things, but it's like, there's caffeine in Cokes, and it has to had to have been affecting us when we
Mhm.
were little. Of course it was. I know someone who was only on Cokes, and they
Mhm.
quit cold turkey and withdrew, only, I'm saying only Cokes. Like, that's how brainwashed we are to think that there's no big deal with Cokes, or that tea, like you were saying in another video, Annie,
Yeah.
that people think tea is okay. And it's like, I know people that just drank just tea. It's not just tea. It's caffeine.
Same.
It's caffeine.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. And if we were on that since kids, and then we get older and older, and then we got anxiety or whatever we've got, and we just think that it's us. And then we have that first beer when we're 16 or 17. That's how it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I felt like I could function at a party. I had that first beer and I was like, I can go. I don't feel, like I'm all in my head. Well, what was making me all in my head? The caffeine.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
such a trip. It's such a
And
trip.
then our medical industry is like think about benzos, like how much benzos they are giving, maybe because of damage that caffeine are causing. Like I have
100%.
this memory that when I was like 19 and I was there in the mental hospital, like I said in the intrusive thoughts video, I was there when I was young because of my intrusive thoughts and anxiety of that. So they was giving us those benzos there and SSRIs, and we were like some kind of guinea pigs there. And then of course we were able to make coffee as much as we like all night, all day. And then when it was the evening snack time, there were people in line waiting their medications, benzos and SSR, and then a cup of coffee, and you get the cocktail in. And how therapeutic that is for human to heal. Like that's kind of like, that's why people there also end up suicide. Many people actually are because of the medications. And all, it's not funny, but that's how it is. And that's why we need to spread this information about this drug also, that how much also Absolutely. There is side effects 100%. With caffeine and medications, because I'm sure there are many side effects. So
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the alcohol, I just never went to benzos for some reason. I just kind of was like, I don't want to take another drug, but they always try to prescribe me antidepressants. And the doctors would say, even when I went in the beginning of all this, and they were like, it's just anxiety. And I went to a endocrinologist for my hormones, and she was like, the only thing they could put me on, she's like, oh, we'll put you on a low dose of birth control and a low dose, like the way she would say it, just a low dose antidepressant. That's all you need is a low dose antidepressant. And I'm like, why? Why is that the only thing to help with my hormones? Like, why? That just didn't make sense to me. And I told her that I came off of caffeine, and she's just like, they just don't know. And it just trips me out. And I have a little story if we have time about my friend.
Let's take
Do we have time?
Yeah, it's a little bit over 1 hour, but let's take the story.
Because it kind of goes with what you were talking about. It definitely goes with what you were talking about. This is a perfect story for it. So in the beginning, I quit. I had a friend who passed away. So all the other friends came into town. We had the funeral, and I was feeling so off, right? Because it was only like 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to go to the funeral. Someone suggested to me to not go, but I did. And but they wanted to go do other stuff. They wanted to go hang out. And I said, I can't do it. And they didn't understand. And my friend was like, Mandy, you really need to go on like an antidepressant or something. She's like, I'm on one. And I was like, oh, you are? I said, no. But I said, no. I was like, absolutely not. For me, that's if someone, believe me, if someone needs it for them, that is important to say that too. This is just for me. I don't want to be I don't want to go off one drug and get put on another one, right? That's just me. But so I said, no, I don't want to do that. She goes, well, I'm on one. I'm like, really? Well, she's sober from alcohol, but she drinks tons of coffee. Mm-hmm. And when her and I used to get together when I was caffeinated, we would go to breakfast and drink, 4, 5, 6 refills and have a waffle after, have our dessert with all of our syrup and butter all over it, and maybe get another one. Like, let's get another one. Let's get another waffle. Like coffee after coffee, get a refill to go. We were like that. So we were off of alcohol together, but we would drink that coffee. We were so high. I'd go to her house. We'd have coffee, talk, She has terrible PMS still to this day, terrible PMS. And she's on an antidepressant, probably because she's on coffee. And I told her, I explained to her everything. So I wasted my breath trying to tell her everything. Well, maybe it's planting a seed. I don't know if it's wasting my breath, but I think I will get to a point where I don't try to educate people on this. I mean, making the videos and stuff, but every single person I see that's probably being affected by caffeine, I probably won't, try to change their life like that, because it just gets too much. But yeah, the fact that she is having all these issues on caffeine, and that's wonderful. She's sober from alcohol. but I know she's being affected by the drug, and now she's on an antidepressant because of it and takes it. So she takes the alcohol, she takes the antidepressant, has crazy PMS every single month, and suggested to me to take it. And I knew even at 4 or 5 months not to. And I'm the same at 34.5 months and 3 days. I'm not going to go on a drug. There's no way. I've had too many days where I feel so amazing. I'm so glad I didn't. But can it save people's lives if, that's the case? It's just, for me, it's not something that I want to be on. And
Yeah.
it's just like going to alcohol. I mean, it works on the same neurotransmitter. It works on GABA. Um, benzos work on GABA. Alcohol works on GABA. It calms you down. Caffeine ramps you up, works on dopamine and glutamate, and then the alcohol and the benzos work on the GABA, and then the antidepressant. What is that? Serotonin.
Yeah.
And then there's Wellbutrin. The doctor did try to put me on Wellbutrin. That works on GABA. That works on
Yeah.
dopamine, I think. And I was on it because I trusted this doctor because he was my mom's doctor with hormone stuff, and I was like not feeling any better. I started weaning off immediately when I got on it. I'm kind of embarrassed that I did take that. Not embarrassed, but I learned my lesson quick. But he was like, "Oh, it's not an antidepressant. It works differently." And
Yeah.
I got off that real quick, and I'll never do that again.
Yes. Lisa asked, I want to ask your question if I can. When did your brain stop feeling like scrambled eggs, like everything just goes really fast and like you can't really process information yet? Like, yes.
It would come and go for me, for sure. That brain fog feeling feels like pressure. Not necessarily a headache, but just kind of like pressure. I would say in the beginning it was like a balloon, and I would get so graphic. I'm like, it's this red balloon, but it has cement in it, but the balloon can still float with the cement in it. Like that's how I love to try to explain instead of just being like, yeah, I had that. I try to like give a picture the best I can because that's what I like. But yeah, it was like if a balloon could float with cement in it, that's what it felt like. So it's different now. Probably, I still feel it sometimes around ovulation, but I just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
I know it's not normal. Sometimes I'm like, is this the way I'm supposed to feel? But like, it's very light now. And then like a year ago, probably around where Lisa is now, I really started to feel, I would call it like, it felt like there was cotton or wool stuffed in my brain. So it went from the balloon head to like cotton and wool, or sometimes I would say mashed potatoes, like mashed potatoes is just stuffed in there.
Yep.
So now it kind of feels like potato soup maybe. So like you can tell like the improvement, it's getting better. So it went from that to that to that to now it's like a light potato soup sometimes, but it's not always. It's more around the dang cycle, ovulation. So around ovulation, I feel more anxiety and that feeling, and then around in my period, I feel more of like the depression. But it's not like the deep anhedonia depression. It feels more like a blondness, or some days, like 1 or 2 days, it'll hit me really hard. I'm like, that's just what it is. It's just part of the healing, and it's so much better. And I'm in kind of like a little mini wave right now. So I just accept it. I know it's going to go away completely. And I know that I've been on this drug my whole life and that I remember we used to call it, we used to say long haulers.
Yes.
But I really think for a lot of people, it's just the way it is. Some people can just handle, I think a lot of people relapse, honestly. And I think some people can just handle some symptoms better than others, or they just think that that's the way it is. And then they realize, wow, it got even better after that.
Yeah.
Way better.
And before we quit,
that's normal.
Yeah, I also
Very
want to
normal.
say that because there probably are also some people who are like very heavy caffeine addicts like I were, like you are using like high amounts, like 1,000 milligrams a day, or even some people more, and you're trying to quit but you cannot quit, and maybe one day you can quit. So if you need some medication during withdrawals, if that's gonna be too uncomfortable, then I recommend you to do what you need to do. That's also
Right.
one thing, because I have here stories and seen people that caffeine withdrawal can be too much. It's sad thing, but these things happened. So just remember, always ask help if the things go too hard for you. This is not something that if if I didn't go any doctors or wanting medication, it just was just my own stubborn head going through hell. But it doesn't have to be any like everyone. You need to do what is best for your life circumstances and how your life is.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah, I am not here to say don't take it, take it. It's just that is huge. Thank you for even bringing that up again, because you have to be careful what you say. A lot of the time, I'm just giving my experience, and I did say it's everybody's individual, but I'm glad you're bringing that. I'm glad you're bringing more light to it, because it really is an individual choice, and that's very important. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm sure everyone they find their own way, and just
Yeah.
we are mostly just we share what we can, but like we are all know we have to, in the end of the day it's our choice, and and don't blame yourself if you cannot succeed, like if you have been using all your life and then you just cannot quit. It's
Right.
it's hard. One day you can.
Yeah, if I'd still be on it if I wanted to start having the panic attacks. I mean, I was trying to cut down, for my hormones and stuff, but I couldn't quit. I couldn't stay quit. I would relapse and keep going back. I would try to quit, and then I was constantly going back, and then I started having the panic attacks, and it just changed my life. And I mean, I am thankful for it. It's weird, but I'm thankful for it. But yeah, I couldn't even take I chose this whole journey not to take any type of painkiller. And I had headaches sometimes during my ovulation time that were so bad that would last like a day or two. But if you have headaches that last longer, and mine only lasts a day or two, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It's just that's how my body was. But I chose not to take anything. I was too scared to take anything. And then I had COVID recently, and my headache was different. So this head pressure stuff and the headaches are different than that type of headache, that COVID headache. That was like deep pain, like in here. And plus I had the sore throat and I couldn't swallow. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take an Aleve. And I made sure it had no caffeine in it and all that. And I took it for like 2 or 3 days, and I took it with food, and I don't regret it. So yeah, if you want to take something to help relieve your symptoms, time is what's really, just don't go back to caffeine.
Yeah, and Michelle says that just yes, it's up to individual. I was terribly injured by psych drugs and benzos. So indeed,
Right.
like those are the hell in the pill. Like I want to hell in the pill. Many those are like the benzos. I was lucky in my young years that I didn't like have those crazy years of withdrawals from benzos. I don't know why I didn't, but I did cold turkey back then. But people are withdrawing from benzos like years.
Exactly. And that, watching those videos, because of course, in this journey, some people watch those because there's not enough videos like these. Yeah, and those scared the crap out of me. And they would say it too. Not everybody withdraws from that. We know that, or some people know that. But the ones that are doing it, it's not nice for many, many years. And that is enough for me to say, I don't want to play around with that. That's just my choice. I don't want to go from this drug to that drug and then have that happen to me, because it does happen to people. And I just made the choice of like, I'm not willing to take that chance.
Yeah.
Because I know the suffering from them. The suffering from caffeine is pretty dang bad.
Yeah, and
I going through that last wave, I was like, this is not a joke.
And also, like they're in the mental hospital, they put the young people in the benzos. They put high dose of benzos and SSRIs, but nobody tells you about dangers of those drugs. And then it can be that they just give you them, and you go home, and you think that there is normal to take, and some people take them long time, some people even doesn't take long time, and then bam, you are years of hell. So this our system really are like fucked up in that
right
way.
And then they don't know. They don't know, because the doctor, well, a doctor gave it to me, and then they think that they're just going cuckoo. It's so sad. It's so it's It really needs to be. It is. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about that, but
Yeah.
not that many people talking about it with caffeine.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's can be
Ben shows
crazy.
it's very nice that there is a lot of videos and there is support and Ben show
Yeah,
coach, but
a lot of
in the
support.
future we have to have caffeine quitter coaches and the rehab centers.
Yes,
Maybe not in 10 years, this is not gonna be
that's
so,
our dream.
but it's our dream.
A rehab center for sure.
Lisa asked how
And by
long was
then
the
we'll
wave?
be mine.
I don't know. Do you mean Mandy's or me? For my wave
Mine.
was 2 months, but I'm like getting good now.
Yay. I thought mine was 3. Like I remember the first month going into the second month, I was like saying it's been 2 months because it kind of distorts your. But it was like 3, but it started to just take. It took so long to kind of fade out into the window that I was very confused. But I'd say 2 or 3, and then but it kind of the way that I went into it, it was so slow, and then coming out so slow, it kind of confuses you. But and then it really hit me around my cycle in November and December was really bad. I couldn't watch TV for like a week or 2 at a time, but then I could, and then I couldn't, and I would just have to sit there and like stare at the wall, at night and like cry myself to sleep. It was so bad. I was at my mom's a lot. I got through it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it's not that I didn't think that I was. It was just so wild. And I know stress, we were talking about person A, person B, and it really is just about the stress level that somebody can have. But it doesn't mean if you have high stresses that you're not going to heal. That's the whole point of person A, person B, that the stress is just going to make the experience more exacerbated maybe at the time, but you're still going to heal. And to try to keep your stress low, try as best as possible, but sometimes that's hard too.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say like keep your stress low, because then it's like, well, I have a stressful life, and then it stresses people out more to say keep your stress low. I don't like that. So it's just like just do your best. Just do your best. The only thing I will suggest through this process is to eat. That's it.
Yay! I love to eat.
Eat. Please eat and drink water.
Yeah, and don't be too hard on yourself with the diet. Also, like quit the sugar if you want, but sometimes I love sometimes my potato chips. Like now, I'm gonna get them and watch the movie. But eat healthy and drink water. And we are going to continue with these lives with Mandy. And I wish you all a very good evening and weekend. And do you want to say, Mandy, something, the end words?
The depression will go. It will.
Yes.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mandy, so much. And thank you, all my viewers. And put comments below this video and like if you like, and share this if you think that this could help some of your friends. So,
absolutely.
Bye-bye, guys.